Hello everyone and welcome to another video talking geeky stuff with me, Tennessee, and follow on with my other video, Artist Focus, Comic Artist Focus. It's going to be about Todd McFarlane. Just like Jim Lee, he is also one of the great artists of that time, the late 80s to the mid 90s I would say, and I got into McFarlane roughly around the same time as I got into Jim Lee, around 89, when I first saw his Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man's always been my second kind of favorite Marvel superhero behind Incredible Hulk. And even around 87, 88, I kind of stopped collecting Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man. Can't remember why, but anyway, it was more fun, and it got me back into what when you go to comic store, suddenly you see the Amazing Spider-Man cover and Spider-Man looks totally different. Because I knew McFarlane did Hulk before that. He did a decent Hulk. I still think Dale Kuhn is the best Hulk illustrator myself. But anyway, so I picked up the issue, checking the artwork, and I realized, wow, this Spider-Man looks a little bit different than your norm. The poses, the webbing, the big eyes, for example. So I picked it up, and just like the story, artwork does kind of elevate the story, which I think is true, because at the end of the day, comic is still a visualized medium, right? And the way Spider-Man moves and so on and so forth, I felt that the artwork really encapsulates Spider-Man. So I started collecting Spider-Man, and Spider-Man at that time was even above the Incredible Hulk. As much as Peter David was a great writer, the Hulk that time didn't have an amazing artist, because Dale Kuhn came later on a little bit, maybe early 90s, I think. Then, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man was actually one of my, that and Uncanny X-Men was my two top comics of that time. Just like X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, you had all of these great artists like Silvestri, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, so on. The mutant universe was expanding. You had more and more characters, so they kind of started a new franchise just called X-Men. And I think in the same way, Marvel thought, well, let's do this with Spider-Man as well. So you had Amazing Spider-Man, then they branched out to just Spider-Man. So Jim Lee, Chris Claremont went on to do X-Men, where Todd McFarlane went on to do Spider-Man. And then, of course, he left Amazing Spider-Man to Eric Larson, if I remember correctly. So, and then, of course, then he kind of started the whole, kind of like a revolutionary or evolution in comics, I believe, because you had Spider-Man over there, you had X-Men over there, and each issue was like saying so much. I think they still hold a record for single issues, right? Yeah, Spider-Man over here had all these variant covers, from the standard cover to black, silver, and gold. You had X-Men over here. You buy them all. You put them side by side. It creates a long kind of image, just broken down into single issues. But you can see by this some of the images here that I felt with both Jim Lee and McFarlane when they went on to do their new comic. I felt the artwork kind of leapt up, went up to a new level, had better colouring, I felt. And I think also they had more time to hone their art. And I think that the Marvel gave them a bit more creative control, because if you read Spider-Man, the first 5 issues, it was called Torment, when the McFarlane brought back Lizard and Craven, with his half of his blown off. I felt he was dark. He made Lizard like a worthy villain, strong, crazy, and dangerous. and I felt it was a good start. I mean, I remember I was reading in Wizard magazine, there was a lot of people, a lot of fans were against making Spider-Man dark. I felt it was actually pretty good. He wasn't dark like, say, Batman dark, you know. It was dark enough, I felt. Then, of course, another good run was when he did with the Hobgoblin. I like the way he did the Hobgoblin and guest starring Ghost Rider. I felt he did a good, one of the best Ghost Riders, I think. Then, I mean, memory served me right when he did the Wendigo. I felt he did that was a pretty good story. I think it was called Perceptions. And yeah, the guest star in Wolverine. And he did a pretty decent Wolverine. Not as good as Jim Lee. You know, Jim Lee, I still think does the best Wolverine. But as in saying that, I still to this day, no one does a better Spider-Man than McFarlane. And of course, just like Jim Lee, he went on to co-found Image Comics and created Spawn. And I mentioned in my last video how these artists, when they do a transition, they stick to something that's very similar, that they're familiar with. You know, Jim Lee went on to do Wildcats, like a superhero team, from X-Men to Wildcats. And McFarlane kind of did the same thing, single character. You had Spawn, kind of like a bit of Batman, Spider-Man, all the dark stuff, rolled into one. I think McFarlane has something to do with capes. He loves capes. I think he does a really good job as well, really giving the cape a personality. And just like Jim Lee and the rest of these Image artists, when they jumped over to Image, I felt their artwork jumped up again to a new level. I think the colouring got better. Technology, colouring in like software like Photoshop probably got better. The paper was better. And remember, they had control of their own timetables, so they can delay an issue if they wanted to. They didn't have to rush their artwork. So that's also a downside, because sometimes fans would have to wait 2 months, 3 months sometimes, and so on. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. If you wait an extra month, you get cool artwork, but sometimes wait an extra month, there's nothing to read. So it's a nice balance. Yeah. So he went on to do that, Spawn. Jim Lee went on to do Wildcats and so on. And also they had the Image people. They were kind of the heads, the two biggest names of that time. And Spawn, I think he sold really well. I think he's up to over 300 plus issues now. I mean, I only collected up to issue 50. Anything after that, I stopped a bit. Kind of stopped comics in general, really. I mean, stopped buying issues because I just had no space for anything. And what I tend to do is wait a bit and then buy like a collection book, read it that way. Today I just download it on my tablet. For certain things, I just to save space, really. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I still buy like a paperback, a collection of certain stories and so on. Like when I'm going to another country on the airport, pick up a graphic novel, read it on the plane or something like that. Pretty cool. And of course, before I wrap this up, a lot of questions is like I remember when someone asked me, who's your favorite artist at that time? And I used to say McFarlane, because I was a bit biased, because Amazing Spider-Man was always one of my top superheroes at that time. And my friend was always kind of into X-Men, so he was Jim Lee's side. But as I got a little bit older as time, because I was studying art and doing design in college and university, as I got better personally, I felt that Jim Lee got better as well. Well, I just not got better. I felt that I understand Jim Lee's artwork a lot more. I feel that Jim Lee is an overall better artist than McFarlane, because Jim Lee, I've never seen a Jim Lee bad drawing character. He does characters good no matter what. But McFarlane has his own kind of specific characters that he's good at. The Batman, the Spider-Man sort of thing, the single characters. His faces sometimes, they have that kind of comedic look. I mean, when you see him draw Captain America, fantastic body, great poses, but he has that kind of look on his face, the kind of, I don't know, it's hard to describe. When Jimmy does characters, they look cool, really just cool. And I would say hands down, Jimmy does better females. Don't know how that will go down in today's world. But as in saying that, McFarlane is still easily top 5 overall artist of all time, and one of the biggest influence to today's comic industry, I would say. Anyway, please give this video a like if you like it, of course, and please consider subscribing if you like to hear me talk more geeky stuff like comics, movies, video games, etc. And thank you for your time. Please stay safe. But before I say that, I gotta say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening where in the world. Thank you and goodbye.